Here's to the end of possibly the worst retro review series I have ever had to do on this channel. I can't hold tequila. At least we know that. Gotta get that tequila taste out of my mouth, but unfortunately I just can't get the taste out of my mouth for this abomination here. Hey guys, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel. This is my updated retro review for FANT4STIC, the 2015 reboot of the Fantastic Four, directed by Josh Trank. And yes, I will be calling this movie FANT4STIC for the rest of the review. Even though I refuse to call the theatrical cut to Justice League, they marketed this movie as FANT4STIC. It says FANT4STIC on the poster, so they're stuck with it. This is FANT4STIC. This once again goes over the origin story of the Fantastic Four: Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. Instead of going to outer space this time, they go to another dimension. This takes place when they're a lot younger. The movie says like late teens, early 20s, but really all these actors are in their early 30s at the time this movie came out. And that's basically it. It's the origin story of the Fantastic Four, and oh my god, is it awful. I already reviewed this movie when it came out. I was very angry towards it. I cited it as not only the worst movie of 2015, but one of the worst movies of the last decade. Certainly the worst comic book movie of the 2010s. But I also found myself to be pretty angry in that review. I just rewatched it, or at least a little bit of it, and there are definitely some things about that review where I'm like, you know what, that was a good one, but I feel like I can do better. So now I have this updated review, which I'm going to tell you right now, nothing's changed with my opinion of this movie. If you saw the title of this, if you saw the thumbnail, you know that this movie has not aged well in the slightest. In my original review, I said that this might be the worst superhero movie I've ever seen. Well, I'm now confident in saying that this is undoubtedly the worst superhero movie I've ever seen. I'm going to treat this review like I did with my reviews for Jurassic World Dominion and Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, where I'm going to go over bullet points of why this movie is dog shit, because I have nothing good to say about it. There is nothing redeemable about this, but before I get into those points, I have to tell you my experience seeing this movie for the first time. So I was not on board with this movie at all. I just thought that everything they were presenting with it just felt like anything but Fantastic Four. We of course know all the production trouble that this movie endured, whether it be reshoots, some people coming in to direct parts of the movie, Josh Trank like building a tent around him on set, telling the actors when to blink, getting into fights with Miles Teller, and then essentially killing the movie with his infamous tweet saying, "A year ago I had a fantastic version of this that you'll probably never see." We all know that story, and I would love to see a documentary about this. I want to see the documentary about how this movie got made, the whole production behind it, and why it failed so miserably. But my personal experience is that I had an invite to see this movie early on the Fox lot, but the night of the screening I couldn't make it because at my job they asked me to work overtime, which on one hand I was disappointed, but in retrospect I did get paid a little more, so that's good. So I didn't get to see this movie at the press screening, so I ended up paying money to see it Thursday night. And I think that's why I was a little more irritated at the movie, because I had the chance to see it for free and I couldn't, so I had to pay money to see it. But again, 10 years have gone by. That's something that's really insignificant because the movie itself is, oh my god, worse than I remember. The first point I have is that it is boring as hell. Most of this movie focuses on the origin. It's a lot of setup to the point where they eventually get their powers and get in the accident. And there's really not any action in this film. It's a lot of scientific jargon. It's a lot of montage of them building the transporter to take them to the other dimension. And it's just not exciting. This is probably the most lackluster superhero movie I've ever seen, which I get it. you focus on the characters, that's all fine and all, but you gotta at least sprinkle in some action here and there, and this movie doesn't. All the action is backloaded to the end of the film, and that's a whole other mess that, yeah, the action in this movie is just awful. That climax is so ridiculous. The second point I have is that this movie takes itself way too seriously. There is not an ounce of humor, there's not an ounce of humanity in this movie. It is so dry and so dull that it's just kind of depressing to watch how serious this movie is. Now let's think about some of the other superhero movies that have come out that have been regarded as among the worst. The ones that come to mind to me are Howard the Duck, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, Batman and Robin, Catwoman, and Madam Web. What do those 5 movies have in common? You can laugh at them. Those movies are terrible, but they all have something in it, whether it's sprinkled throughout or in the majority of the film, that makes you watch them and go, this is terrible, but man is it funny to watch. Like, just grab some tequila and you're gonna have a blast laughing at how bad these movies are. You can't do that with FANT4STIC. It's so serious that it just leaves you drained emotionally. You can't really get invested in it, and it was a struggle to rewatch this movie from home. That's how slow and just overall serious this movie is. Like Batman vs. Superman at least had some points that were fun. Even if I think that movie is way too serious and also quite terrible, at least it has some things going for it that make it better than this garbage. The third element that makes this movie absolutely dreadful is the script. A lot of the dialogue in this movie is straight up horrendous. It's mostly a bunch of exposition. There's no real dialogue among characters where they get to know each other. It's all talking without them actually saying anything. And there are also moments where the characters are just unbelievably stupid. There are 2 moments in this movie that really stick out as being the absolute worst parts of this script. The first is when Reed, Johnny, Ben, and Victor go to that other dimension. They're exploring it. They see this green substance and they decide to stick their hand into it without knowing what it is, and all of a sudden that's where all the problems start. That causes a collapse in the landscape. It's the reason why all these characters get their powers, and it's not even done well. Johnny's tube gets caught on fire, so that's how he gets his powers, and Ben is just like bombarded with rocks that are attaching to him. Like, I don't even know how that works. I mean, look, I get it's a comic book movie. I get that it's not supposed to make a whole lot of sense at some points, but at least the Roger Corman movie actually gave reasons for why each of these characters had their own powers. I don't know if this was in the original source material, so if you're a hardcore Fantastic Four fan, let me know in the comments below. But in the Roger Corman movie, they said the reason why Reed Richards can extend his limbs is because he seems to stretch himself too far among his work. The reason why Sue can turn invisible is because she's often very shy. The reason Johnny can catch on fire is because he's very hot-headed, and the reason Ben turned into the Thing and is made of rocks is because he is basically the tough guy. He's hard as rocks. Not in that sense. Get your minds out of the gutter, people. So at least it's silly. I don't know if it's from the comic books, but at least it's some sort of decent explanation. I don't know. But here, there's no logical reason why these characters get these specific type of powers. Not to mention that the only reason Ben Grimm is on this journey with them is because Reed Richards calls him up saying, hey, we need another guy to come with us to this other dimension, and he calls Ben up while he's drunk. All 3 of them, Victor, Reed, and Johnny, are drunk when they call Ben and drag him into this mess. And then, of course, there's the infamous end of the movie when they come up with the name for the Fantastic Four. I gotta say, it's fantastic. Say that again. It's fantastic. Yes, it is. Guys, I got it. You ready? Cut to credits. Okay, I'm going to move on because if I stick on any of these points for too long, my head's going to explode. But here's the number 4 reason why this movie is awful. The casting. Now, the biggest controversy to come out of this movie when the cast was first announced was that they made Johnny Storm black. And I said in my original review that it didn't matter to me. I didn't care if they made Johnny Storm black, because if Idris Elba could play Heimdall in the MCU, then Michael B. Jordan could play Johnny Storm. And if anything, he's actually the best cast of the 4 main characters. But if there was any problem that I had with this casting, it's that you make Johnny Storm black, but Sue is still white. Why didn't you make Sue Storm black as well? Because they're literally supposed to be brother and sister. And throughout this whole movie, you don't get that impression at all. Like, it seems like they barely know each other in this movie. So I didn't mind Johnny Storm being black at all, but the problem is, unless you're gonna make Sue black as well, it doesn't make any sense at all if both these characters are of different races. Kate Mara is fine as Sue Storm. She doesn't really have anything to do in this movie, and she kind of looks like Sue Storm. So while Michael B. Jordan is probably the best cast of the 4, Kate Mara is the one that actually looks like her comic book alternate. Miles Teller does not come across as Reed Richards at all. I don't get the impression at all that this is supposed to be the smartest man in the world, because Miles Teller is an amazingly talented actor. But every movie I've seen him in, he comes across like a jackass. He does it very well, but I don't see him as Reed Richards. And Jamie Bell, honestly, Ben Grimm could have been played by anybody, because Jamie Bell has no reason to be in this movie as Ben Grimm. He looks too small, and I don't buy him as this tough guy that Ben Grimm is supposed to be. Then for Victor Von Doom, oh boy, don't even get me started on Toby Kebbell. This is probably the biggest butchering of a comic book villain I have ever seen, because he's just some internet blogger. He's not the ruler of Latveria. The look of Dr. Doom is just so bad. Like, how do you take one of the coolest looking comic book villains of all time and make him into a crash test dummy that's oozing with nuclear waste? That's what he looks like. He looks like a crash test dummy. Doom is awful in this movie. Like, I don't know what else to say about Victor Von Doom. He looks dreadful. Like, everything about that villain in this movie is unforgivable, considering how famous Dr. Doom is as a villain. Now, I haven't talked about this at all, but the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. A lot of people are worried because they feel like this is Marvel getting desperate. Robert Downey Jr. basically made the MCU with Iron Man, and some people feel like with Tony Stark gone, the MCU doesn't really have a sense of direction. I don't buy into that, and here's the thing I'll say. Robert Downey Jr. is an amazingly talented actor. There's a reason why he's an Academy Award-winning actor. And this is also the same guy that convinced everyone that he was a black man. So if he can do that, then I think he can effectively play Victor Von Doom in the same franchise where he played an amazing Tony Stark. At least that's the hope. We'll see when Avengers Doomsday comes out next year. But back to this turd, the last thing I have to say in terms of why this movie is the worst superhero film I have ever seen is that it has a complete misunderstanding of the Fantastic Four. Now, I've reviewed all the movies now. I've seen every Fantastic Four movie leading up to First Steps in a couple days. And the thing that I've failed to mention in all these reviews up until now is that they never focus on the one thing that makes the Fantastic Four who they are. They are a family. They are Marvel's first family. And this movie doesn't understand that at all. Obviously, there's the fact that this movie takes on a darker tone. This was an era of Hollywood when they were trying to make comic book movies like The Dark Knight. Oh, we gotta make it darker. Let's do that for Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is generally more of a lighthearted group, so making it like The Dark Knight does not work. But in doing that, they completely miss the core fundamental of why the Fantastic Four works. Why do you think people keep calling The Incredibles the best Fantastic Four movie ever made? Because it actually focuses on a superhero family, which is what the Fantastic Four is supposed to be. There's also a reason why Helen can stretch like Mr. Fantastic. There's a reason why Violet can turn invisible like Sue Storm. That's not an accident that two of these characters have the same powers as the two anchors of the Fantastic Four. It's no coincidence at all. That was intentional, because this was a superhero family much like the Fantastic Four, which this movie completely doesn't understand at all. None of these movies, none of the Fantastic Four movies play on the aspect that they are family. Now, before you get into the comments and say, well, this was the origin of the Fantastic Four when they're first meeting up and they're young, they haven't established that family bond. again, Johnny Storm and Sue Storm are brother and sister, and in this movie, they don't even seem to acknowledge each other. There's barely any chemistry between these two actors. There's no chemistry at all between Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Nothing. This movie has nothing going for it in terms of understanding the Fantastic Four. Ooh, I'm getting angry again. Hold on, folks. Okay, I don't know what can be said about this movie that hasn't been said in the past 10 years. It's a straight up joke, but not in the same way that Howard the Duck, Superman 4, Batman and Robin, Catwoman and Madam Web are, where you can laugh at them. You just cannot laugh at this movie at all. There is no enjoyment to be had in it at all, especially considering that they butchered this franchise to no end by ignoring the family aspect. This movie doesn't even attempt to understand the basics of the Fantastic Four. And if there's anything that makes me enthusiastic about First Steps, I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's that one clip when they find out that Sue is pregnant. That one clip right there represents what Fantastic Four is supposed to be. They are a family. And in that one clip, I buy into it more than 4 movies that have come before it. Oh boy. Okay, I'm wrapping this up. Why is this the worst superhero movie ever made? I already mentioned how you can't enjoy this movie for how bad it is like you did with the other 5 comic book movies that I mentioned earlier. But also, this is what I said in my original review. We've had several blueprints of how to make great superhero movies. Marvel was on a hot streak with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. By this point, they had wrapped up the second phase of the Infinity Saga, and they were about to move on to the third and best phase of that era. Fox themselves were starting to make better superhero movies. They squandered X-Men for a while with 3 and X-Men Origins, but they immediately got back on track with X-Men First Class, The Wolverine, and the excellent Days of Future Past. And their very next movie right after FANT4STIC was Deadpool. So there are many examples of great comic book movies that have come out before FANT4STIC and even long after. Like I mentioned, Deadpool, there's Wonder Woman, Avengers Infinity War, Endgame, Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok. So many amazing superhero movies that have come out, like the Suicide Squad, this year's Superman, Thunderbolts. So many great superhero movies that have come out that it makes it inexcusable for this movie to be as bad as it is. This is absolutely dreadful in every sense of the word. There is a reason why I said it was the worst movie of 2015. There is a reason why I said it was the worst superhero movie of the last decade, and why I think it's the worst superhero movie, period. And finally, there is a reason why I told this movie to burn in hell in 2015, because it is shockingly bad that a movie like this could have been made. Just wow. Wow. That's all I have to say. I'm done. I am done with this movie. And there you go. That's my updated review for FANT4STIC. I hope you enjoyed it. Clearly, I failed at giving you all a more level-headed review and a less angry one, but I imagine it was fun for you guys to watch at least. Oh, you know what? I don't want to jinx anything, but I have faith in First Steps. Like I mentioned with that clip where they find out that Sue is pregnant. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I hope it's good. I hope it's an amazing Fantastic Four movie, because after watching all the previous attempts, we desperately need a Fantastic Four movie that we can say, that was incredible, and not The Incredibles. I will try to have that review out as soon as I can, and I'm looking forward to seeing it for myself. But until then, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this review, and I want to give a special thank you to my subscribers and YouTube members right over here. You guys are the reason why this channel continues to grow every day, and if you want to help to financially support the channel, you can do so via YouTube memberships for as little as $1.99 a month. But until next time, I want to know what you guys think about FANT4STIC. Whatever your opinions are, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. If you want to find me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me on these social media platforms and my theme park and travel channel right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.